I'm a wanderer, so you might want to put that on kind of wide angle. Well, thank you for having me. I've been to your club 3 or 4 times and given the same pitch. So either the program chairman thought I didn't do a good job and he's going to let me have another chance, or you have a new program chairman and they forgot that I was here before. So my goal is to tell you a little about the airport. Most of you have been there. I know Bernie has been there for a long time. He sold the land the first time. And Dave Thompson helped develop it. This is when he started his work. That's before the Boeing plant. That's one of the first 747s. And you all know the story of the 47, the 67, the 777, and now the 787 and the Dreamlifter. That picture says a lot about the airport. It's the 2 types of airplanes, both ends of the spectrum. We have 650 little airplanes, and right now we've got about 50 big airplanes, but more than I think some would like to see there. One thing about listening to my pitches is you have to put up looking pictures of airplanes. We have all kinds of airplanes, new ones, old ones, and in the last 8 or 10 years, we've had a real gift to our wider community with Paul Allen's Flying Heritage Collection, John Sessions' Historic Flight, the Museum of Flight Restoration Center, and Classic Fighters, which is building ME-262s from scratch. They're on their 3rd one. The first 2 are out flying, and the 3rd one is flying and I think is about to be delivered or was just delivered to a place on the East Coast. Have 2 Mustangs on the airport, Hellcat, Tiger Cat, a lot of really interesting airplanes. We have some of our nation's finest. This is an F-18, and that's probably one of the uglier ones. In the Navy, I flew A-6s, and that was not the kind of beautiful, sleek airplane you take home to show your mother or your girlfriend. Hey, wow, look what I fly. I think this is the same category of airplane. We have ATS, which does maintenance on mostly 737s. They do maintenance work on Alaska, Southwest, United, Hawaiian, UPS. So we have a lot of business. In fact, the ATS business is about the same amount of flights as Boeing. And it may surprise you, but only 2%, maybe 3%, of our flights are airplanes like this and Boeing airplanes. 97, 98% are general aviation. The airport is operating at about 38% capacity. During the heyday, there were 220,000 operations. In recent years, it's been more like 110,000. So the airport is a county department. I report to County Executive Aaron Reardon. I view my job as running an airport that meets all the standards for Boeing and ATS, and also providing a boost to our economy for economic development. And as you see as I go through this, we have been very effective at developing projects and getting the federal money to the airport. Airport 101, despite working for the county, being county airport, and the county owns the airport, the FAA is kind of like Big Brother. I get a tremendous amount of adult leadership and oversight, rules and inspections from the FAA. Both the state and the FAA require that the money that we generate at the airport stays at the airport. This is a national policy, so if we really do run like a business, and over the last couple of years when we had some hard times, we collapsed our business and saved about $500,000 a year just by putting off some things and doing work internally rather than hiring contractors. It's like a small city. We have a sewer system, we have an electrical system, a power system. Some of those are run by others, like PUD provides the power. The sewer we run the sewer system, and it goes off the airport to the 2 districts on either side of us. The roads on the airport are public roads, but they're not they're not the kind of roads, they're not right-of-way roads. So they're kind of like the roads in a shopping center, as opposed to the roads out in town. And when we're a team player, if you need something, that we're going to try to find a solution. The county needed a place to put the medical examiner, the morgue. Well, we found a place on the airport where it was easy for us to do. Can you imagine what the mayor would say if you tried to cite the morgue in Edmonds or Linwood? You know, that would be a tough job. Well, we did it. We also cited the airport road transfer station. They did an EIS and studied it, but we found a place where it was convenient. It's near the central end of the collection area, and it's a business between the airport and solid waste. It's an economic asset. These are projects that the airport generated. The R station was $6 million. Kilo North was about the same. The main runway and taxiway was $20 million. Alpha 2.5 is a new taxiway. That was about $2 million. And there's been over $200 million in private investment at the airport. That's jobs, and it's keeping people to work. This shows where some of those jobs are. I won't go through all of them, but they are all over the airport, and I see that as part of our mission is to provide economic development, which is either bring companies and jobs here or be aggressive in looking for grants to keep the airport in good shape and to provide jobs for our construction companies. Future projects, the runway is a little bit like a boat. A hole in the water you pour money into. The main runway is that kind of deal. We've spent $25 million in the last 5 or 6 years. This year and next will be another $11 million. The small runway is $5 million. That'll be engineered now and actually constructed in 2013. Snow equipment, ILS, the work that we do provides better service and long-time facilities. The airport has a Part 139 certificate from the FAA. That is the kind of the report card that we give to Boeing and we give to ATS and to the worldwide aviation community, which says Paine Field meets the same aviation standards that SeaTac meets. Those are some of the future projects. Again, I'm not going to go through them individually. Aircraft noise. Airports have a well-deserved reputation for being lousy neighbors. But it's one of those reputations that we all keep in our mind. We remember Pearl Harbor, but that was a long time ago. With noise, the technology has really been our friend. There have been so many improvements, and I have a little graph to show you here. That red graph is this is the runway. Oops, go back. That's the length of the runway. So that size is the ground that is covered with 75 dBA or more noise when a 727 takes off. That's like a 1970s, early 70s, late 60s airplane. As you go down here, the next one, that's if you put a hush kit on that same airplane. This is a 47400. This is a 67, and the numbers down here, this is 50 square miles. And then 20 and 12 and 8, the 777 is only 3.2 square miles of ground underneath the takeoff path, which is the noisiest area. So technology has really been our friend. This is a 37, and this is a regional jet. This is the Dash 8 like Horizon flies. Since 1980, the projected noise footprint of 65 DNL. And 65 DNL is a land use measure. It determines whether or not the land is appropriate for houses, schools, and churches. So the 65 DNL line around the airport has shrunk from this big black area to the little red line, which is all on the airport. And the red line is based on about twice as many operations as we actually have. The technology is really our friend. There are a lot of things that are talked about on where the airplanes fly and what they do. So I thought I'd just show you, this is kind of a typical day of flights at the airport. This is airplanes coming and going from the south and from the north. Pinks are departures and greens are arrival. You can see that airplanes on an instrument approach, which is an ILS from the north, are going to be in a very narrow area. It's kind of like that's where you have a lane painted on the freeway. But if you're out driving on a football field, the airplanes can go every which way, and that you see they aren't quite in the same area. They don't have the same discipline as far as where they are. This is 24 hours, 292 tracks, and it also includes overflights. This is typical of traffic. Noon to 4 p.m., no overflights. As I said, 97% of the traffic is GA. General aviation airplanes, we have a runway here, we have a runway here, and that's our main runway. So that's what a typical general aviation panel looks like. This information comes from a radar down at SeaTac. So as the airplanes get down below about 400 or 500 feet, they can't be seen, and that's why the paths stop there. There's a similar path going the other way on the big runway. So this is jet tracks only. And just to show you where we are, this is Harbor Point. This is Whidbey Island over here. An airplane on a departure to the south would get a clearance something like Boeing 502, you're cleared to take off, climb straight ahead to 3,000 feet, turn when level, turn right to like 240 or so, and contact Seattle Center. So all these flights here that are turning to go out over the water or turning east to go over the mountain, those airplanes are above 3,000 feet. Commercial service, not much new here. 2 airplanes, Horizon and Allegiant, have given letters to the county saying they want to start service. The FAA's environmental analysis is underway. The latest is that they said it'll be complete by the end of the year. There's a federal process, and then there will be a state or a SEPA or state process that the county will go through. But we have to get, the FAA has to make their determination before anything happens. How many of you have been to the Future of Flight or the Boeing Tour? Well, where's the president? Stan. You need to work on that.
Yeah, we're working on that.
How about Paul Allen's Flying Heritage Collection? That is an absolutely wonderful collection. Or John Sessions' Historic Flight. You would think that those 2 organizations might not be happy to work together, and the same thing with the Future of Flight. They are competing for the same people. But they work together marvelously. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the B-25s from Sessions and Flying Heritage flew and put on air demonstrations for the day. The 2 Mustangs, you have a Mustang, they flew. It's a wonderful deal for our community. The airport feels very blessed because there's no other airport in the world that has the amount of aviation attraction that Paine Field does with the love those airplane pictures. So there's the Paine Field attractions, and if you're, especially during the winter, the lines are not long. You can go in and just have a good time. And they have some wonderful docents at Historic Flight and Flying Heritage. Normal airports charge a landing fee based on the amount an airplane weighs. So we give the blips a free ride. we have some neat events, and over the last, say, 3 years, we've kind of tripled our number of people coming to them. It's about 25,000 come to the fly days, the free fly days at Flying Heritage. GA Day had 8,000 or 9,000, the same thing with Vintage Aircraft Weekend. We work hard when it snows. And this is not jihad, this is Etihad. That's a new Boeing airplane. And so I'm ready to answer questions.
How do you get to work? Do you fly?
I do fly, but I get to work on a motorcycle. Some of you may know my wife had a stroke in January. She recovered just about all the way from that, and but she went back to work and decided that wasn't her cup of tea, so she retired, and so we are selling our condo in Kirkland and living on Whidbey Island, so I ride a motorcycle back and forth on the ferry, except when it's really nasty, and then I take the bus for a drive. I can't believe there's been... Bernie had an ugly question earlier.
You've been picking on me, but
You're an easy target.
I have a suggestion. I've taken out-of-town guests up to Museum of Flight, and I've noticed that there's lots and lots of people that stand on and walk along the east perimeter of the Museum of Flight. It's a grassy area.
The Flying Heritage right up there?
Yeah.
Yes.
It'd be nice to have some park benches out there on the trail.
Okay, well, we'll look into that.
How do
Kurt, that was a good speech, thank you.
How do you maintain the runway, since you only have one runway for larger planes?
No, that's a big problem. When we work on the runway, we tend to work on one end and shut down a couple thousand feet, and then we work on the other end, and we just close the whole thing. And we do our shutdowns at night or on weekends. We coordinate them very carefully with Boeing and ATS, but sometimes it's a hardship on one of those companies. And you may be aware 2 years ago, we laid down about 4,000 feet of new asphalt, and we darned if it didn't harden. So we had to grind up 4,000 feet of asphalt and put it back down again.
It had to harden, don't you want it to harden?
Oh, we do, but it never did.
Oh.
Very disturbing. And we had more experts that we never determined exactly what was wrong. Bernie?
How many 787s are parked on the field? 747 freighter?
You know, I can't give you a real accurate number. I know with the future of flight, there are 4 or 5 87s and 1 47. In front of the tower, there are 1 or 2 47s and 3 87s. And on runway 1129, there are 3 or 4 87s and a couple of 47s.
So you get fees, monthly parking fees?
We do. Yes, sir. My former leader here.
David, I've always been interested in what participation either the county or the FAA does with an airline such as Allegiant as to what their scheduled flights are going to be to and from this particular airport.
The Airline Deregulation Act of about 1978 took that out of the hands of the airport and the FAA, and it's kind of like the cars on the freeway. They get to go where they want to go. And the airline can, as long as it's safe and everything gets inspected to death, as long as it's safe, it's up to the airline to decide where they fly from.
Did you want to tell everybody how the survey came up as to where everybody wanted to go if they flew out of Paine Field?
No, you can tell them.
Vegas, Las Vegas.
That's why
On business trips.
I don't know what year it was, but I think West Seattle tried to create an international airport right off of Salties, and a B-17 landed right in Puget Sound. And I'll tell you, if you looked at those pictures, you would not want to be a customer at Salties when that plane was headed right for the building. And sunk, I don't think it really sunk completely. I think it ran itself right up on the beach.
Is there any military activity at all at the airport?
Well, you saw some of the, there's F-18s, the airplanes from Whidbey come down and do familiarization. Occasionally there will be a logistics airplane supporting the Navy home port, but we don't have any airplanes that are based there. We do have an Air National Guard unit, but they are a communications outfit. They do fiber optics and things like that. We also were just cleared to work with the federal government as a National Disaster Relief Medical Center, NDMRS, something like that, that if there was an emergency someplace, we would be a place where they could bring patients and then get them to our local hospitals.
So you use an asphalt for your landing strips?
We use asphalt in some places and concrete in others. The engineers do a study. The study generally comes out fairly even as to cost and benefit. Asphalt doesn't last as long.
Right.
Sometimes it's easier to put in and quicker. You might not realize that concrete has to harden for about 2 weeks before you can drive on it.
Right, right.
So concrete takes a long time.
Yeah, do you know any airports that are using pervious asphalt or concrete?
Yes, we have some parking lots that are made with that asphalt that lets the water go through.
Oh, great.
We do that as much as we can. The airport believes that we are a steward of our environment up there. One problem with that is we're perched on glacial till, and so when you put water down, it tends to float on the glacial till and then it goes off sideways. Bruce?
Dave, is it the plan to continue to develop the west side of the airport, and if so, do you have any major tenants lined up for there?
We continue to, we're kind of picky about who we let come onto the airport. They need to be an organization that the county would be proud of. They need to be an organization that wants to build a quality facility. Or if somebody wanted to put up a tin building, we probably wouldn't allow that just because the airport will be the owner of the building at the end of the lease, and we don't want to own a bunch of junky airports or junky buildings. So we have, this is the Corey building. This is the old Navy housing area. This is the Corey building, 215,000 square feet, about $100 million of economic development. We have an early stage discussion going on with the group for there. We're working on the north end now, and this pad here has a deal going on it that probably not going to happen for several years, but we're working that. So one thing, it's difficult for me, and I used to go out to the county council and come up with a new idea, and they said, well, is it in the budget? No, it's not in the budget. We just got a new customer. So we are entrepreneurial rather than governmental in the way we do our investment. And I normally put in if I have a hunch on something, I'll put in a project, but sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Could you kind of outline the perimeter of the airport?
I can.
You've got a slide.
Thank you very much for the question. Okay, so the perimeter is, as you would expect, we don't own Big Sam's Tavern there. Come up here, right inside the road. The city of Mukilteo, not property line, but jurisdiction line goes right through there. So everything else is in the county, but Mukilteo has a little corner to the airport there. So all of the Boeing, this is the property line with Boeing. All of this is in the city of Everett, and it is owned by Boeing. The airport owns all this here. We own the Beaumont Business Park over to here. And when I got here 20 years ago, there were 2 buildings on there, and now it's just about totally developed. We own down Airport Road. This is the Airport Road transfer station. Here's a PUD plot. This is the Air Guard. We own all this. And this is the Navy housing. This is Corey. And we own this. This is the Parks Department. So it comes down kind of on like this and back around like that. It's about 1,250 acres. I feel a hook coming. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In one moment, wait, you may already have one of these.